Hey, what's going on YouTube? If you're returning, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I'm a do-it-yourselfer, and I at least attempt to tackle various projects myself. So, welcome. Today we are kind of reviewing and comparing Ego chainsaws. On the table here, I have an older 16-inch chainsaw, and then I have a newer chainsaw with the 18-inch bar. And we're going to go over some of the differences between the two of them and tell you what I like and I don't like about what Ego is doing. And we'll jump right into it. I will also include some footage of actually using this. Last year I reviewed some of the other Ego products, but I didn't do the chainsaw because around my house I don't really have anything to cut. I primarily bought the chainsaw for camping. There's a lot of down trees where I like to go camping. It's great for cutting up the wood either for fires or to get into our campsite because trees are continuously falling. So I previously had a Husqvarna chainsaw, which is a gas-powered chainsaw. It would work great down here, but once I got up to altitude, it would no longer want to stay running. I'm sure that was due to the carburetor needing to be adjusted for the altitude. Every time I've messed with the carburetor trying to adjust it, I just make things worse, and I just didn't want to get into that. So I got rid of it, and since everything else is around my house, I use battery powered except for my ride-on snapper. I went ahead and got the Ego chainsaw. This is the 16 inch is what I started with. So I got the 18-inch because, first of all, it was a longer bar, and I probably could have just gotten a longer bar for this one, but my thought process was I was thinking that this had a newer, stronger motor, so I wanted the longer bar. I also needed a new battery because my bigger batteries were no longer keeping a charge for very long, and a 5 amp hour battery was $250, or the chainsaw with a 5 amp hour battery was $350 at the time. So I went ahead and bought a new chainsaw with the battery. So let me bring you in closer so that I can go over some of the differences between the two. So on this side, this is the 16-inch Ego chainsaw, manufactured in April of 2016. And this is the 18-inch, and this was manufactured in October of 2019. So aside from the bars being different lengths, they're pretty much the same bar, same chain, it's just that one's longer than the other one. So there's a few noticeable changes, but a lot of similarities. The controls remain the same on the handles. You have a safety button on the side, and then you pull the trigger. They both take the same batteries. They can take all sorts of different sizes, just like all the other Ego products. They can take your 2.5 amp hour battery all the way up to your big boys. So those are the things that are the same. The chain brake just is shaped different, and there's some spring in this one. This one is rigid when it's all the way back, locks forward, locks forward. So the chain brake is not that much different. So here's where we get into some of the differences. If I turn them over on the side here. So one of the downsides for the 16-inch was the fill cap for the bar oil. There's a screen in there, it's kind of small, and it took forever for you to get bar oil in there because it's so thick. You'd overflow it before it could actually drain into the tank. So filling it got kind of annoying. So they did fix that on the newer model. They put a bigger fill cap on here, and there's no longer a screen inside here. It's just straight open and you just pour it in. So it's a whole lot easier to put oil in this saw. So that's one of the improvements. Another change that they made is on the 16-inch model, it only has plastic bucking spikes right here. The 18-inch model here still has the plastic like bucking spikes, but they added in some metal spikes in here. So that's a nice addition. On the 18-inch model, they also added in a little LED light here. I think that that's a little bit more gimmicky than useful. LEDs are cheap. They don't take very much power, so it's easy to throw that on there. On the top of the saw, you have a little button right here so that you can turn the LED on. So I wouldn't put that as a plus or a minus. So it's not a pro or a con for me. And so now we get into the final biggest change between the two saws, and this is one that I hate. So Ego, if you're watching this, it's garbage. So the final change between the two saws is the bar adjustment. So on the 16-inch here, we have a big turn dial right here where you loosen that. Then you have this wheel up here and you rotate that to tighten or loosen the chain. You make your adjustment and then you tighten this guy down. Ego, this worked fine. There was no reason to change it to this other way. So they came up with this like proprietary chain tightening system that doesn't work very well. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to just loosen the knob and then tighten it again. And that's supposed to retension the chain. The problem is it doesn't work very well. The first year I was using this, I had the chain come off on me twice. And if you've ever had a chainsaw, like a chain come off from a chainsaw before, sometimes the teeth that run inside the track, these guys in here, they can catch on the gear and on the bar and stuff like that and get nicks in them. And then they don't want to track inside the bar again. You have to take a file to get those burrs off in order to get it in the track again. Well, I was camping and I didn't bring a Dremel or a file or anything like that, so I couldn't get the chain back into the bar. That pissed me off. So the chainsaw was no longer useful for me on that trip until I got home so that I could actually fix it. In the video that I'm about to show you, in the footage that I'm going to show you of me using this saw to cut things up, every one or two cuts, I'm loosening this and tightening it again to make sure that that chain stays tight. This is a horrible, horrible system, and I would much rather prefer this one. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw in some footage of me using the saw and just cutting up some fallen trees. There was a dead tree that I also cut down, as well as a log. I was just trying to kill the battery and see if I could like cut the top of the log flat so that I kind of make a tabletop in our pew-pew range. So up here where we go camping, it's near Forest Lakes in Arizona, between Heber and Payson. We had a fire in 2002 called the Rodeo Chetasky Fire, currently the largest fire that we've had in Arizona. Our campsite itself was spared, so you can see that our site is filled with trees, but if you look all out that way towards the hill, the trees are much smaller. They're getting upwards of 12 feet, maybe taller than that, but they are still considerably shorter. So the fire burned up to the edge of the campsite on that side. And over on this side, I don't know if the fire went through there or if that was a fire line and they backburned it, but it killed a lot of the trees. So there is a lot of fallen wood. There are fallen trees all over the place. So it gives us a lot of firewood, but it needs to be cut up. We also need a way to cut that up. So that's why we have the chainsaw. So up here on the hill, you can see more of those fallen trees. They're all over the place. And what I've been doing each year when I come up, or in between, if it just so happens, I will cut up a whole bunch of this stuff, or cut up what I can. And then it's already cut and ready to go for our next trip. So you can see that I did this one. I think it was last year that I did this one. And there's another one that's over there that I did a couple of years ago. And I will do that from time to time. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go ahead and cut this one up. We'll cut this one. And this one is dead. So we'll probably just go ahead and cut this down. And we'll go ahead and loosen it up and retighten it just to make sure that chain's as tight as it can be. After a couple of cuts, I loosen it up and I tighten it again as the chain starts to get warm. I forgot my eye protection, so probably not the smartest thing in the world. Again, loosen it up, retighten it. This tree that we're cutting up is probably about the size of my hand, and it's cutting through it just fine. And it looks like somebody probably cut this down with an axe. Hopefully it was already dead when they did that. There is plenty of dead trees around here that you don't need to be cutting down live trees. And with all the cutting that we just did, the battery wasn't fully charged because I had already done a little bit of cutting. But we got 2 bars left. We got a decent amount cut up. Now we're over here at our pew pew range. I have a couple of bars left on the battery, and I'm gonna see if I might be able to cut the top of this log somewhat flat, so we have a flat area to lay stuff out on, to use it as a table. So overall, the saws do work well. I like them for their uses. The biggest thing is this chain tightening system. I absolutely hate it. Also, Ego claims that their batteries have a 1,000 cycle lifetime. So that means you can charge, so one cycle is a charge and discharge. So you charge it once and then discharge it. So that's one cycle, and they claim that you can do that 1,000 times. So when I bought this chainsaw, it came with a new battery, and I was buying it because my batteries were going bad. And I know that there is no way that I ever came close to that 1,000 number. So I also bought a 2.5 amp hour battery at the same time because Ego was discontinuing their relationship with Home Depot. So Home Depot had some stuff on clearance, so I was able to pick up a 2.5 amp hour battery for a lower cost. So I actually am keeping track of how many times I charge each of these batteries. So I have the 5 amp hour up here and the 2.5 amp hour down here, and I have the first charge date, which was September 7th of 2020. So in that amount of time, which was, at this point, it's been not even a year and a half, I've charged the 2.5 amp hour battery 11 times and the 5 amp hour battery 13 times. So in the 4 years that I had the 5 amp hour battery for this saw, there's no way that I came anywhere close to 100 cycles. So Ego, if you're watching this video, your claims are total BS. Something that you have to realize with battery-powered equipment, we're not going with battery-powered equipment to save money. It's not going to happen. Do you know how much gas and maintenance that you could pay somebody to do a tune-up on your gas-powered equipment for the cost of this one battery? This one battery by itself costs $250. And if you have to replace it every 3 to 4 years, it's going to be way, way more expensive than operating gas-powered equipment. So we do not go with battery-powered equipment to save money. That's not the case. Also, how much better for the environment are they? These aren't recyclable. Lithium batteries are not recyclable. Again, how much better for the environment are they? We're kind of doing it for convenience. So not having to go out there and fight with pulling the cord on a gas-powered equipment to get it started or anything like that. Also, if it needs a tune-up, we're not either having to deal with it ourselves or paying somebody else to do it. So it's more of a convenience factor. There's also a noise aspect to it. For me, I still wear hearing protection when I'm using these, especially the chainsaw. The chainsaw's got a kind of a high-pitched whine. It really aggravates my tinnitus. And if you don't know what tinnitus is, that's a constant ringing in the ears. So even if it's quiet, my ears, I still hear a ringing. Sometimes it's so loud it keeps me awake at night. So to sum it up, when it comes to the new chainsaw, I absolutely hate the chain tightening system. I wish I could take the parts and combine them in these two saws because I like the fill tank on this one. I like the steel bucking spikes. I hate the chain tightening system. On this one, I can live without the steel bucking spikes. The chain tightening system is fine to me. The oil fill is annoying to me. So, yeah. So Ego, on your next one, go back to this. Go back to this chain tightening system. This system is absolute garbage. I can't say it enough. I hate it. So obviously, I don't need to keep both of these saws. I really need to make a decision. There's a really big part of me that just wants to keep the older one. I'll just probably swap the bars. And there is one more thing that bugs me about the Ego chainsaws. So when you buy them, they come with this bar cover. They do have a soft bag that you can get to put them in. I don't like a soft bag for my chainsaws. I like a hard box. So Ego doesn't actually offer a hard case for their saws. They should. So what I've been using, like I said, I had a Husqvarna saw before these, either one of these. And Husqvarna does offer a case for theirs. Granted, you have to buy it separately. which I did. But when I sold the saw, I kept the case so that I could put my new chainsaw in it. And the 16-inch kind of fits. So I took this one, I just used the cover that came with the case, just because it fits in this gap a little bit better. And it kind of sits in here at an angle. You can't square it up. It sits at an angle, which cants the bar out like that. But it does fit in here. And I can close it up. I can fit bar oil in here. I can fit 2 batteries, no problem. I can fit a battery on the saw, and then I can just put another one in there without it. So this is the 16-inch. The new 18-inch is shaped slightly different. So when it goes in here, it still needs to be fit. It still needs to go in here at an angle, but what you can't really put a battery on it and close it up very well. So the angle is even sharper. You can see it going off that way. And you really can't put a battery on it and put it in this case. So I did find 1 or 2 videos of people buying boxes, just like a toolbox from Home Depot, and then they cut a slit in it for the bar. And one person even got like some 3D printed battery mounts off from like eBay or Etsy or something like that. They attached them to the wall so that they could like lock a couple of batteries in there, which is really cool. I think I'm going to do that. I just haven't gotten around to it. If I do end up doing it, I will go ahead and do a video on it. But yeah, that's one of the other frustrations. That one's more of like a type of frustration, where as the chain tightening system, that's just aggravating. So I do think I've rambled on long enough. I've also ranted enough. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. So hopefully in the future, Eagle will take some of these things into account when they design a new saw. And hopefully they'll listen to their customer base. Their customer service is harder than ever to get a hold of. They don't offer like an email so that you can just send them an email. You can only call them, but you can never get a hold of somebody. They call you back when you're not at home with the tools. That doesn't make sense either. So the route that Ego's going, it's kind of frustrating. They'll still be getting my money for now. So hopefully they will figure some stuff out and figure out that there are better ways to be doing things. Other things that's been going on, I've been working on the garage. You can see it's getting a little bit more organized. I got some of the wall plastered and painted and some shelves in. But let me know if you want to see a video on that stuff. Also, I'm using a new microphone, so if you wouldn't mind, just leave a brief comment in the comment section below. Let me know how it sounds. So I guess that's it for this video. We've rambled on plenty long enough, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.